wonderful introduction. And I also now feel a little bit guilty because I'm a big believer that sleep is critical for productivity. And the fact that you were sitting there at 3 a.m. and I caused that much trouble is sad, but I hope there were some good things as well. So for those, first of all, I just want to see who learned something already about me and saw some of my videos. Can you raise hands who saw any of the videos that I put together on Facebook? Okay, this is excellent. Very few people. I was worried about it because I don't want to repeat myself and make you guys listen to things that you already know. So I'm going to start really briefly with my story and why I decided to tell people how to manage their time. Why do I know certain things about that? I grew up in Russia, grew up in Moscow, went to university very, very early. At the age of 14, I already started university. And then I was always very curious, always loved reading. I was just kind of a crazy child. And I got a bunch of degrees back in Russia. At this point, I have half a dozen degrees. And it's pretty ridiculous. I still don't believe I did that. And then I moved to Boston. I received grant and I went to study at MIT. I did a combination of computer science and business there. And when I moved to Boston, to this amazing place with amazing entrepreneurial culture, which is different from the one in Silicon Valley, but still pretty unique, it inspired me to start something of my own. And I started a company which was called ImageAiry. It was a combination of what I knew about aerospace, which was very little at the time, and computer science and business. So we created a marketplace for satellite data to make it easier for people to access that super valuable resource that has been only available for big corporations and governments for years and years and years. So I started with that. I was 20 at the time. I basically didn't know much about business, in particular business, the way it's done in the United States, not in Russia. Big difference. And then I moved, so when I was 23, 3 years after, when I raised some money in the company was acquired by one of the leading Earth observation players here in Silicon Valley, the company called Astro Digital. So I sold my company and became the youngest executive in aerospace industry. I was 23 at the time. I'm 25 now. And I kind of had this very fast sprint through my life. I was very driven all the time, but in addition to drive, you also need a bunch of tools to help you sustain that pace. And I was looking for learning from everyone I could, experimenting, trying, tossing things, ideas, concepts. And while I was working through that, I came up with some system. I really had no time for some, sorry for my English, bullshit planning, when you just have a planner for the sake of feeling organized and feeling good about yourself. I really needed a system that will give me flexibility, that will actually open space for me, not make me more, contained within some boundaries and structure. So I wanted something very simple that wouldn't take much of my time. So I put it together for myself. I've been using it for a few years. And then last Christmas, I was at home, spending time with my family, and I thought that, you know what, this is a kind of an interesting resource that I put together. Let's just throw it on Facebook, and maybe some friends of mine will benefit from it. Really had no thought, about actually making it available for people I do not personally know. The truth was, so I posted on Facebook, went to sleep, and the next morning it was downloaded by several thousand people. And one of the Russian media wrote about it, and it had almost 10, 12,000 views my video had. It was something ridiculous. So it got really fast, got some traction really fast. And I realized that there was value for people in what I was doing. So, if there is value, I'm willing to share that. I'm a big believer that if you have access to some knowledge, you have to spread it. And by doing that, you will learn more. And in the process of sharing it in the last few months, I learned a lot more. And I'm going to share it with you today, and I will learn more from you today. And we will continue this cycle again and again. So one of the biggest myths, and something that I realized pretty late, was that hard work doesn't equal success. A lot of people talk about it. It's an important ingredient. But in order to achieve something, you need, like, if you're looking for a treasure, right? And you just dig, and you dig and dig and dig from, early morning to late night, the chances of finding something is pretty slim, even if you work really hard. You need a good toolkit, maybe you need a team, but most importantly, you have to know where to dig. Otherwise, you can spend your entire life working really hard without any success. So setting goals that are the right goals, not those that were suggested by some external factors, is really important, because otherwise you will be just overwhelmed with a lot of tasks in your to-do list without any movement towards your treasure. So I realized that the first step is always to set the right goals. Just an agenda for you guys. We're going to talk about goals, about how I spend my day and structure my day to get the most out of my energy. We'll talk a little bit about forming habits, because they really contribute a lot to success. And finally, we will talk about willpower, because a list of goals is not cool until you execute on them. And so part number 1, setting goals. How many of you set New Year resolutions? How many of you did it this year? Are you still sticking to them? How many are still sticking to them? Okay, wow. We have a very, very dedicated crowd here. Because in, I think, 87% of cases, by March, people just, you know what? This goal wasn't totally right for me. Maybe next year. So the truth is that we have a lot going on in our lives. And then we set our New Year resolutions. We really, paint this beautiful picture of our amazing self by the end of 2017. But we forget that we will be overwhelmed every day along the way. And our brain doesn't feel any pressure of a deadline. A year from now is so long, I'm going to lose 20 pounds. I still have 9 months to do that. I'll be fine. I have plenty of time. So lack of pressure of deadline is very, very important for not getting anything done. So it's what I realized is that you need to plan in short sprints. You need to feel the pressure of deadline. You need to feel that it's right around the corner. You have to feel the distance towards that date. And so I started planning in 9-week sprints. So 2 months, about 6 sprints per year. It changed a lot, because it's pretty long time to get something done, actually. It's a lot of time. But it's short enough that I feel that, it's pretty soon. I have to keep on going. So every 9 weeks, I define 3 main goals, and I really sit down and think why I want to accomplish those goals. Because there are so many interesting and cool things to do, personally, professionally, and it's oftentimes difficult to see the difference between your own goal and a goal which sounds cool and what society suggests is the right thing to do. So spend 5 to 7 minutes on each goal to write down why for you it is important. Not why generally it's a good thing. Why is it important for you? So 3 goals. For each goal, I usually write milestones, because I like seeing progress. And I just write it down in my planner. I will show a link where you can download a PDF of my planner. It looks like this, the goals page. So you can just print it and have it for yourself. We are going to launch a planner, I think, in a few months from now. I was contacted by some publishing companies, so probably we'll have it somewhere on Amazon sometime soon. But for now, you can download it, print it. This was part number 1, goals. Again, do not believe in big, long-term goals. It just doesn't work from the brain science perspective. So the second part that I want to talk about is how I spend my day to get closer to those goals. So this graph shows the decisions made by judges when they need to determine whether they want to release a prisoner, to keep the person in prison or to release the person. And a lot of research was made trying to define what is causing the decision, yes or no, if they want to release the person earlier. And they took a bunch of factors, including gender, race. They were thinking that those things actually mattered, type of crime. And what they found out that the most important factor that resulted in the yes decision was the part of a day when the decision was made. So in the morning, when the judge just arrives to the office, the chances of a yes is over 70%. As he goes towards the lunch break, his yes likelihood goes almost to zero. Then he gets some rest after lunch, and then poor prisoners have more likelihood to be back home. And then it goes back down, and there is another break that they usually take around, I believe it's 4 o'clock. I'm sorry, I don't have time here. And it spikes again. And there's a lot of research about decision making and decision making like strength that we have, and it changes throughout the day. We have a certain number of energy points every morning and for making decisions, and we use them throughout the day. We can recharge a little bit when we take breaks, but in the end of the day, morning and first hours after breakfast is most productive. And that means that you have to do most important things first. So first things first. This is my mantra. I pick 3 most important tasks, those that are difficult, that require creative thinking, that require effort, and I dedicate a couple of hours of my time, first thing in the morning, to those tasks. I try not to have any meetings, calls, or anything at the time. It's pretty challenging because I work a lot with Europe, and I have to talk to them sometimes early in the morning because that's the only time when we can connect. But whenever possible, I block 2 hours on my calendar in the morning before lunch for those most important tasks. And it actually feels great because by lunch, you know that you have accomplished the most important stuff for your day. So you kind of feel that if after lunch things go a little bit crazy, you're still good. The day was fine. Then I also try to plan the night before. It gives you a perspective on what's going to happen. So just jot down all your important meetings and at least your 3 main tasks. You don't have to have the full to-do list, but your 3 main tasks, write it down. It just gives you a perspective. You just get mentally ready for your goals, for your tasks. Also, an important part about planning is that a lot of people plan work activities and professional stuff, but they do not plan time for rest. They don't plan time for family. And what it ends up being is that, I have all the time dedicated to my work, and the rest of my time when I have zero energy and actually desire to do anything, I can dedicate to my family and friends. So I actually block time on my calendar for fun. And it may sound a little bit ridiculous, but what I found is that it allows me to get the most out of that time, get fully recharged instead of just having this time and realizing I don't have energy for that. So appreciate the need for rest and fun and balance in your life, and just book this time for yourself. Be very nice to yourself from that regard. Also, an important thing for when you procrastinate, what usually happens is that when you have a task and you're working on something, and then your brain comes up with an idea of something really nice, of a nice alternative activity. For example, you're working on an important report, and your brain goes, "Oh, by the way, I forgot to buy a gift for my boyfriend, so I'll go ahead and go to Amazon and order something." So when you have this incoming task, what I started doing is just always have a list of tasks in front of me, so I jot it down and continue working on my current task. So just getting rid of tasks as they happen without actually even processing them, write it down right away, very helpful. I also do the same thing for incoming tasks for others. So if I'm expecting something from another person, somebody from my team, I write it down into waiting for list, so I can check on those things and I don't have to constantly think about about it. Like, Jonathan has to provide me a presentation by Thursday. I don't have to remind myself. I just have it digitally recorded or written down. I prefer digital. And in addition to that, so first things first, after lunch, all the routine tasks that do not require much creativity. And also every night, I spend literally 2 to 3 minutes to write down 2 things, just a sentence for each. My main achievement of the day and what I'm grateful for. There is a lot of research, a lot of very rigorous research that suggests that this activity, which may sound very simple, impacts your capacity to stay focused, to stay motivated, and to stay very happy by far. Just writing 1 sentence on each of those topics every day, very impactful. So make sure to make it part of your practice. Really works. I'm sorry if I'm gonna start speaking with a weird voice. I just had a lot of, I was very sick. I came from Boston. It was 7 degrees there, and my voice isn't cooperating really well. So yeah, if I start making weird noises, excuse me. This is how the page of my planner looks like. Priority tasks in the beginning of a day, routine stuff, time dedicated for my hobby. Thank you so much. And achievement of the day and what I'm grateful for. And 3 most important tasks up there. Also, I break all my tasks in 25-minute blocks. Our brain hates long tasks. It's just not fun when you know that there is a project that will take 6 hours. There is just no way for you to force yourself to do it. You will always pick something which is smaller that will give you a very quick dopamine boost when you check it off the list. So what you have to do is to break every big task, every elephant, slice it into small pieces. And I use Pomodoro technique, which I find really helpful. It's 25-minute block with 5-minute mandatory break. So no distractions during 25 minutes, and then you can do all your Amazon shopping and Facebook and whatever you need to do in the 5-minute break. Works great for me. 7-10 Pomodoros per day. You will get so much done in in a few hours. Try it out. It's very simple, but just give it a couple of days. Really changes a lot. So in my planner, it actually, I break it into 30-minute pieces, so 25 plus 5, 25 plus 5 minutes. So I actually integrate it into the planning system. And the third part, very important one, is forming habits. So habits are actions that are automatic. So good things that you do without even thinking. The more times you do the exact same action, the easier it is for you to do it, the less effort and this energy points it takes to get it started. So when you first decide to go to gym in the morning, it's a lot of effort. If you do it on a daily basis for years, it just becomes the same thing as brushing your teeth in the morning. And there is a lot of there's a lot of research that suggests that this is actually the case because connections in your nerves, in your brain, become they become stronger. There is a protein that covers your brain cells and your neurons, and it just makes this path, the exact same path, more smoother, and so connection becomes faster. So it actually works on a physical level when you do a repetitive action. There was a study of athletes swing motion of a bat. So when you do something repetitively, it becomes muscle memory. So muscle memory is actually not muscle memory, it's a connection in your brain. So repetitive action is very important. Drinking water, working out, reading, saying thank you to people more often, smiling to people more often. There are so many nice things, very small things that you can teach yourself to do that, and it changes your life. There is a cumulative effect. So give it a try. I pick 5 habits per sprint and track them on a daily basis. Never miss twice. You can miss once, never miss twice. And this is how the page looks like. So just, put the X when you completed the task, and as simple as that. And I really like the idea of like not breaking the chain, so having a maximum number of collected X in my boxes. It's really make it fun for yourself. Okay, so we talked about goals, we talked about planning the day, we talked about habits. This is all fun, you put it down on paper, now you have to execute on that. And this is where willpower comes in. And a lot of people believe that I'm a person with a really strong willpower because I've been working a lot in my teenagehood, and I'm still working quite a bit. So I do not believe that willpower is a special characteristic of a particular person. Like there are people who are better in math, there are people who are better at willpower. A lot of research suggests that willpower is like a muscle. So the more you use it, the better it becomes. And with willpower, there is a concept that in the morning, again, the same idea, you have 100 willpower points. You wake up, you have to go to gym. And decision to go to gym costs you 10 willpower points. So you do that, and then you come back from gym, you make breakfast, and then you finish breakfast and you want to eat some ice cream. And the decision not to eat ice cream will cost you 20 more willpower points. Every decision that you make, where you kind of want to procrastinate, costs you some willpower points. So your goal is to simplify a lot of decisions. It's so much easier not to eat ice cream when you don't have it in your fridge. It's so much easier not to procrastinate on things when your internet is turned off at this time and you're just focused on one particular task. So creating the environment that makes these decisions for you, just constructing this environment is very helpful. Also, you can automate a lot of stuff. So instead of, I just stopped going grocery shopping. I know things that I cook usually, and so I have it delivered for me. And it just takes some of these, small decisions, very simple decisions, from me, and it helps me become more productive and make decisions on things that are truly important and meaningful. So I really recommend you trying this. And again, I can't highlight it enough. Important tasks first thing in the morning, always, because of this willpower points. You may say that, some people, they wake up early, they feel better and work better in the morning. Some people are better working at night. I always believed that I was a night owl and that, I was better after lunch, working better after lunch. But the truth is that I was just a very bad adapted type of bird that the truth is that most of us, like 99.5% of us, work better in early hours because we sync with the sun. And when the sun goes up, we have more energy. When the sun goes down, we have less energy. It's very natural. And those cycles, unless they're broken, they're valid for most people on Earth. So it's very likely that if you do not have a lot of energy in the morning, it's not because you're different. It's just because you broke the cycle. So go into bed by 10 o'clock when you have opportunity to get some quality sleep, not doing anything crazy before bed, getting this quality rest, working out in the morning, not doing any fast carbs for breakfast, actually creates this environment that makes you very productive first thing in the morning, and the results are really, really good. And I'm going to stop here and end with this wonderful quote that I always remind myself about. So this guy, Theodore Roosevelt, said that the best prize you can have in life is to work on things that are worth doing. So I believe that a very important part of productivity and reaching goals is in your dedication and your true passion about things that you do. And if you feel like what you're doing is not worth it, I can bring you a ton of techniques and life hacks and things like that, but that won't work, or at least it won't work for long term. It's not sustainable. So working on things that are truly meaningful, it's such an empowering thing, and I was lucky to have an opportunity to work on things that were truly meaningful. And the last thing that I want to say is, and this is something that helped me a lot with my procrastination, because I'm prone to procrastination, everybody is the realization that every moment of our life is very, very precious. Like this moment when we are now, you're listening to me, I'm sharing the story with you. It's very valuable. And we can do some things, I can just tell you stuff and not really focus on you, not really focus on sharing this. You can be thinking about other things and not try to connect. And we'll waste this moment. Similarly, when we just make a decision instead of working on an exciting project and browsing Facebook, we make a decision to throw away this moment of our life. How many of those moments we have? It's a very limited number. And so every decision to procrastinate is a decision to have a useless, not interesting life. And the appreciation of now, of this present moment, and not being mad at it when things don't go wrong, when it becomes difficult and things like that, but just appreciating the fact that we have this moment and we can invest it in building something amazing helps me a lot to achieve big goals. Thank you. Yeah.
Of your session, you said that it's important to decide what tasks you focus on and that they're meaningful to you. So how do you go about deciding what to do and what not to do, given we have so many choices? Thanks.
Yeah, that's a very excellent question. And I usually do two things. Number one, imagine that you accomplished this task. You're already there. You kind of step in those shoes, you try this on you, and try to see what you feel. Do you like where you are? Does it make any change, or it's like meh, I guess I'm here. So just try to model for yourself, what does it feel like to be at the place of success with this task? Does it make any difference? And the second criteria that I usually have is that you mentioned there are so many choices, and if I just try this mental image of new me accomplish this task, and I'm not sure if I like it or not, I decide no, that's not for me. Because if you are not excited, this is one of the things that when I talk to young entrepreneurs who are about to start a company, and they're like, I have this idea and this idea and this idea, and I don't know what to start with, and I don't know which one to pick. And I'm like, look, if you don't know which one to pick, then none of them is actually good. Because along the way, you will face so many difficulties that if you're not super excited now, well, that's not going to go well. So I think the same idea is with goals. If you're not super excited about being there today, actually you being there, not just some hypothetical person being there, it's a big distinction, then just do something else. Your time is so valuable. And also one thing that you may want to consider, no one can be great at everything. We have our strengths and we have our weaknesses. A lot of people believe that you have to even out your strengths and weaknesses to kind of have, I'm really bad at English, so I'm going to work really hard to improve my English while I'm actually a genius in math. So I will be now average in English and average in math. So I believe that you should focus on things that make you unique. So your core strengths, just really put all your energy on that, grow that part, be exceptional at one thing, and that will bring you huge success, because you cannot be great at everything. I know it's very desirable, I want it to, but you just have to say no to your ego and focus on things that you have natural tendency to. Thank you.
Hi.
Hello.
Thank you for the presentation. Very useful. The question is, one of the items you mentioned at the very end of the day, you highlight a particular achievement or things you're grateful for. What if the day didn't go as expected, and there's no such a thing. What do you do?
It's never the case. Not for me, not because I'm that great of a person who always gets everything done. But the truth is that and that's the exercise, you have to find a very small victory and celebrate it. So maybe your main mission was to impress your board of directors with your new idea, and they said, nope, we don't like it. But you can celebrate the fact that you found courage and incentive and actually brought it up, and how great you were at presenting the idea. It didn't work, but there is something to celebrate all the time. And when you focus on that instead of what didn't go well, you feel like you're progressing. It's just kind of giving yourself the thumb up, yeah. There are things that don't go well. It's part of life. But there are a lot of things that go great. And this is something you achieved. And I'm very cool. And I'm awesome. And I will keep on doing that. And next time they will obviously love my idea. Talking about grateful, what do you feel grateful for? I'm 100% sure that every day we have something to be grateful for. Some person who touched our life in some meaningful way, just smiled at us in the street and made us smile back and just created this positive energy in us. It's just noticing those things. Again, that's the exercise. Noticing those wonderful little things and appreciating them is what makes us happy. Because there is research by Harvard Business School. They were trying to figure out what makes us happy. What external factors make us happy? Well, 90% of our happiness comes from non-external factors. So having a beautiful wife, several $1 billion in a private jet, only guarantees 10% of your happiness. 90% is your capacity to appreciate those things. And so that's always your choice. And I realized that I became a much happier person, much less anxious. We're surrounded by super successful people. Like, Silicon Valley is crazy about that. No matter what you do, there's going to be somebody who's better than you. Who's going to have a bigger house and a bigger company and a bigger team and a bigger IQ, whatever else you want to compare. So if you focus on that, your entire life is going to be miserable. But it's your choice to focus on other things. And this exercise, writing this one sentence, teaches your brain, it's another habit, like any other, it's another habit that teaches your brain to focus on good stuff and makes huge difference.
So thank you, Kate, for an inspiring share today. So I'm a little bit curious about your childhood, or what shapes yourself today, like a very beautiful woman, very successful and charming and cute and intelligent and everything. And then what shaped you in your childhood, and is there any are there any mentors in your life that is worth for sharing with us today?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't know. I was always very driven. My parents didn't want me to go to school so early and skip some grades, and I just wanted to do that. And when I was analyzing that behavior, I realized that was the need for recognition, to feeling that I am worth something. I grew up in a very average family, in a very average community, and I was a very average girl, and I was looking for ways to be proud of, for ways to stand out. And I think it was my initial motivation. And then I found a lot of joy in pursuing that goal, because I really enjoyed reading new things and learning new things and synthesizing new things. And my family was just there for me. I don't think anybody was pushing me hard to achieve any of these goals. And speaking of mentors, I do not believe that mentor is a person who is like one person or two people in your life who are knowledgeable and successful, and you get a cup of coffee with them once a month and they tell you how to live your life. I think that there is so much learning from people who you may say are average, normal people, not distinguished in any way, shape, or form, because they bring a new perspective. I was a very pretentious kid. I believe, like once I realized that I was smart, I was like, okay, I'm gonna hang out only with cool kids, and it was a big mistake of mine, because I was hanging out with this very smart ones, and for a long time I was hanging out a lot with entrepreneurs, and I went to MIT, which created this environment of very smart people. And now I'm dating a person who's a patent attorney, but he's also a theater person. He's playing in musicals. His name is Steve, and he got me exposed to a bunch of people who are focused on art. And for me, it was a new world, right? Like people who are not logical, who are talking about like songs a lot. And I was like, really? So I'm launching satellites. What do you do? I sing. Like, So that was my initial reaction. And this reaction is so wrong. What I learned in the last year or so was that being around those people taught me to appreciate a lot of things in my career, in my life, that I was totally unable to see. Like, I was blind to them because I was approaching them with my logical mind, and all my friends were approaching it with a logical mind because we're all exactly the same. So mentors are not people from your environment. Mentors are people who are very different from you, who come from different culture, who come from different background, who do things that are strikingly different from what you do. And you talk to them and you try to understand their point of view. And that creates what we call mental model. It's your ability to look at things from a different angle. And in the end of the day, all innovation comes not from a new mathematical formula, with rare exceptions, but from the ability to look at things from a different angle. And this is something you cannot learn from books. This is the true differentiating factor, which becomes more and more important in the new economy. This is something that any artificial intelligence, at least in the next few decades, won't be able to do. So that what makes us human. And this is what I've been trying to learn, and connecting with people, spending time. It's a huge investment, like meeting people and connecting with them in a meaningful way. It's a big investment, but it's such a great investment. The return on this investment is so much better than, just writing another business email. So that's my answer.
Awesome. So we have time for another 2 questions, all right?
It is so refreshing to talk to you, and I can feel the human element, and I'm just blessed to be here.
Me too.
Thank you. So, as I was listening to you, I was just wondering what keeps you so humble and so grounded. Because in my mind, when I first came here, I thought this person, just might be so full of themselves. But here I come and you are everything but that. So I really want to know what keeps you so humble.
I don't think I'm humble. I don't think I'm humble. I know what I can do, and I'm very proud of my achievements. But again, we live in a society when there are so many incredible people around us, and there's so much to learn, that you can be in a good place, but it's just there's such a lot of work and again, I learned from people I talked to. I started talking to people and sharing my story and sharing my ideas fairly recently. And my friends and family, they couldn't understand why I was doing that. And I didn't know why I was doing that. But I quickly realized that it's a great learning experience. So there is so much to learn. I can brag about my, achievements. I try to tell about those things to give some context, to kind of show that, what I'm talking about, I have practiced it a little bit, so I know what I'm talking about. But otherwise, what's the point? Well, there is a great TED Talk on communication. And what was striking to me, it's a very simple thing. What is a dialogue? A lot of people believe that the dialogue is like advertising time. So we engage in conversation and I have 20 seconds to tell you how awesome I am and how I know everything about everything. And then you have 20 seconds of your time. And we just pretend like we interact, but actually it's like advertising of ourselves. And this is a lot of networking, and I do a lot of networking. This is what it feels like. People just advertise themselves. What I found, it just doesn't work because the person doesn't remember what you said because he was thinking how to phrase his awesomeness in a better way while you were talking about yourself. And it's pretty symmetrical. So learning how to listen to people, it just keeps you pretty grounded.
That's good. Thanks. So it works. Yeah. Okay, I'm not sure if it's a question because I don't know if you thought about this. So basically, it's a question: have you thought about this? So I remember when I was 25, I felt really productive, and you have your downtime, and you can paint in the evenings, and that's awesome. But then when you have kids, and I have 3 of them, wow, there's no downtime. If there is a downtime, you're just beat. And there's actually research that shows that people are least happy when they have young children, which is weird because, you love them to pieces. They're awesome. I have 3 children that I'm so proud of and I love so, so much. They take all my energy. And, and I work, and I've always worked, most of the time was full-time. And it's just really, really hard to be as productive as you were when you have children. And I actually went to a lecture at Stanford. I worked at Stanford for many years about kind of, work-life balance and time management. And I was the only one. I raised my hand. I was like, what kind of advice do you have for somebody who's working full-time and raising 3 children? And the person who was talking said, I have nothing for you. Nothing. He was like, you're in a very difficult situation.
You can leave right now.
You should just, So I have a feeling maybe you're going to go far with this topic. Maybe you're going to write a book someday. I don't know. So I'd love to hear what you are thinking now, or maybe just, ask you to think about this, as you progress.
Yeah, I'm a very family-oriented person, and so I want kids sometime in my life, and I've been thinking about that. But as I mentioned, I do not believe that time management is mostly about time that you have. I think it has a lot to do with focus. So as a mother, I am assuming that you can still find 2 or 3 hours per day, and now your task becomes more the task of choosing the right goal, and setting priorities becomes even more critical because you have no time to waste. But I think it's the same idea. It's using your energy to maximize the achievement of goals that truly matter. But I'm a practitioner, so I do not like when people teach somebody things that they haven't tried. So I'm not gonna give you advice. I feel like it should be similar, but I do not know. That's one of the reasons why I think I decided to share some of my stuff, because I was just so tired of seeing so many business coaches on the internet that were giving different lectures on how to manage their time, and watching them I was like, look guys, if you're doing real work, you do not have time for any of that, and this is not what actually matters. And this is it was obvious that this person just got out of university, going to find a job, and decided I'm going to be a business coach, and so I try to be as far away from it as possible. So I try only advise things that I've tried personally. But I've been thinking about that, and I want to keep on thinking about that because your startups, your 3 startups, are very time consuming and highly important. You cannot fail either of them. We're in a much easier situation. You can fail, you can start a new one. It's fine. So it just increases your level of responsibility, and your priorities have to be razor sharp.
Okay, so in addition to your planner where you put in your tasks and plan out your day every day, are there what digital tools do you use to help you manage your time and your tasks? Do you use like Outlook versus Gmail? Do you use Evernote versus OneNote? What mobile apps do you use? And what are some of your favorite features or tips there?
I'll love to talk about it. So, first of all, I use Todoist for capturing all my tasks, like really on the go, any device that I use, all the incoming tasks go to my Todoist. That's my number one thing. I also spend a lot of time writing emails, so good email client is super critical for me. I recently found Newton. It's an email client that is super simple. It's just no distraction, very clean interface. And they have a great feature of follow-up. So if a person doesn't respond to you within a given time frame, the email will bounce back to you, so remind you that you have to follow up with the person. And great UI, just awesome. It costs like $50 a year, which is ridiculous for an email app that are mostly free, but so worth it. I'm really into design, so things have to be clean and nicely done. Now, I tried Evernote. I don't like how they do fonts and typography, and I'm kind of geeky about that and weird about it. So I'm using Kip, which is QUIP. And it's a similar idea. It's also a collaboration tool. You can write notes. So I drop all my insights in it. For all the brainstorming, I use only paper. So all the creative thinking I do on paper. There is a reason for that, because when you stimulate your fingers when you're writing things and drawing things, it actually connects with your brain, and the more you do it, the better it works. So all the doodles and everything, I use paper. I like dotted paper. I recently discovered a very interesting app called Pillow, that helps track your sleep patterns. I recently became really interested in sleep, because if you think about it, your energy depends on three things: your sleep, your nutrition, and your kind of what sucks your energy, like bad communication, wrong people around you, just those difficult situations. The latter you can eliminate by just changing your perception of those things, but what you consume and how you sleep actually matters a lot. So I started looking into my sleep patterns, understand how deep my sleep is, because 8 hours of sleep, what we hear a lot, it's not about time, again. It's about quality of your sleep. And you may have very shallow 8 hours of sleep and you'll be really, really, really tired. Or you may have very good quality sleep for 6 hours and you'll be good to go. So I started researching that, and this app Pillow works great with Apple Watch, and it also works on your iPhone, tracks your sleep patterns, even records your moaning and weird sounds that you make during the night, which is pretty interesting feature. I still don't understand why it exists, but it's fun. So these are, I think, let me actually check my, while you guys are thinking of more questions, I will tell you what else I'm using.
I'll give you a few more questions.
Yeah, thank you. You actually give me more questions, because for telecommunication, I use Zoom. I started playing with Trello. Didn't really work for me, to be honest. I also, before reading, I read a lot. I'm kind of getting more and more addicted to reading. I thought I was pretty bad early, and now I'm getting worse. So before reading books, I try to read an executive summary just to get a sense of what is in there. And there is a good service called Blinkist. For Pomodoro sessions, I use Focus Keeper. It makes this ticking noise, like tick, 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 during your 25-minute window. And I just realized that my brain kind of connects it with deep work. So when I hear this tick, 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 I stay focused. And then it has a sound of a cafe or restaurant, just like this sort of noise for the break. And, I kind of switch from things to, like, our brain is very simple on those fundamental things. You have a sound which is connected to activity, you repeat it for X number of cycles, and it works. I mean, it's pretty fundamental and simple. Yeah, and Kip is pretty good. I recently put together a planner for the planner that I showed you guys also on Google Spreadsheets, so that you have a electronic version of it, experimenting with it, and currently team is writing a bot for it so that you can put tasks in it, writing in the Facebook Messenger. Once we have that, that's going to be pretty cool. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I try to avoid having too many tools. Maybe it sounded like too many, but I think it's pretty simple. Like, I have my planner and my to-doist for capturing tasks. I have a good email client, and I have things to track my sleep. That are my kind of key productivity tools.
Hello.
Newton.
Hello.
They should pay me some royalty or something. It's not the first time I'm recommending.
Hello. Thank you for the talk. I think it's really insightful, and actually I learned a lot from what you have put together as a process to manage your time, your energy. The first thing I want to say is you have a lot of tools, and to be able to manage to use that many tools is wow. My question for you is, with all the process, with all the thinking you have put in to manage your time and energies, have you ever found yourself regret about anything, career, family, or just anything you could have done better in terms of managed time to do it?
No. I'm pretty confident that it's no. I had my moments when I was a teenager, when I felt like I wasted my time. At a certain point, I decided I needed French, and I started learning French, spent a lot of time on it. But you know what? All the experiences, and I felt like it was a waste of time, but then I realized that sometimes it was useful. Actually, I got a very, very bad food poisoning several months ago on the plane, flying from here to Moscow through Paris. And it was so bad that I had to call emergency. And the emergency crew couldn't speak any English. They only spoke French. That was one time, but it was a very important moment when I actually had to explain to them that they have to fix me very quick because I have to fly to Moscow because I'm speaking in front of a prime minister the next morning. So it was pretty intense, and it was actually helpful, despite the fact that you never know when those things become handy. But more importantly, the skills that you acquire in the process are much more meaningful and much more important than the end result. When you meet a terrible person that turns you down and betrays you and things like that, it teaches you a lot. It teaches you to read people better. It teaches you to accept difficult situations that for sure will happen in your life. So in the end of the day, there is an interesting concept, actually, not to set goals, but set systems for yourself to acquire not skills, but experiences, which is more like broad concept, which can be applied to different disciplines. And I think it's the same idea. Even if the end goal wasn't particularly useful, the process was very useful for sure. So why would you regret?
Thank you for the talk. I'm really looking forward to doing more Pomodoro, so I played around with that, and I try to take breaks at work, but the problem is that I'll be in the middle of something, and then I postpone the break and postpone the break again because I'm trying to figure something out, or I worry about how it looks to my coworkers if I take these breaks so often. So how do you deal with that?
So first half of my day, this is like very dedicated Pomodoros. People know that they shouldn't approach me at that time. I usually just let them know that, I'm working on something important. Also, I kind of highlighted in the presentation, breaks. You have to take those breaks. Just drop everything and take this break. Some people believe that it will take you out of this flow state. That's not actually the case, but it just teaches your brain, again, to keep this cycle going. Every time you break this pattern, you kind of kill everything you've done in the process. So just force yourself to take breaks. And another thing, just to be a little bit. So during this 25 minutes, you're not allowed to get distracted. If you get distracted, you restart the timer. And it kind of motivates you not to get distracted because, like it's only 5 minutes and I can get it done. But if I switch to another activity, then I will have to restart the session. So for me, it was helpful. But again, just don't give up on this technique in the first day or two. Let your brain rewire, Just work on the pattern.
All right, so last question. If anyone has a question, all right.
Thank you guys for so many questions. It actually helps guide the speech because I don't like being on stage and like nonstop.
So, Kate, thank you so much for the insights. It's really valuable. So, could you explain a little bit about how you estimate the time it takes to achieve something? So, if I hear you right, it starts with high-level goals, breaking them down. Your 9-week sprint. So that presumes that we can achieve what we want to achieve within that 9 weeks. So estimation of time is an important element to it. How do you account for interruptions and things that people depend on you for that is not directly your own responsibility? Just give us some insights into that.
Yeah, great question. And the answer is the following. This planning is just some guidance, Excuse me. It just points you in a direction. It's not the end structure. Excuse me, guys. I guess my adrenaline wears off a little bit, and my cold is back. So it's just a way to give you guidance, keeping the flexibility in place. Things will move around. Things will get canceled and certain goals you will not achieve. The more often you do that, the better you will be understanding how much time does it take for each activity. Techniques that puts you in a very solid, rigid framework because this is not how life is.
So in other words, what I hear you say is, create space where you can be focused and you make progress to a point where you actually can count it as an achievement.
Yeah, and even in the process of a sprint, I realized that the goal that I set for myself is not the right goal. I don't stick to it. Again, it's just a direction. Be very flexible. I think we should wrap up with questions. I'm so sorry.
So that's it. Let's applaud very hard. All right, awesome. So thank you everyone for coming. That's it. We're going to have more events. The goal is to have one event per month. That's an achievable goal, so we'll do it. Next month, I want to bring another speaker to talk about viral marketing. So stay tuned. We'll email you. And that's it. There is more pizza left, so feel free to stay for a few minutes to network. And we'll see you next time. Thank you.